Here are the 8 things about your body even Google can't explain. Number 8. Why do we dream? Many unknowns about dreaming and sleep, but what scientists do know is that just about everyone dreams every time they sleep, for a total of around 2 hours per night. Whether they remember it upon waking or not, there is not likely ever to be a simple answer or theory that explains the full role of dreaming in human life. If dreaming has an actual function, it really supports why we spend a third of our lives sleeping. Biological, cognitive, psychological, it's very likely that dreaming may serve important functions in each of these realms. In spite of our attempts to demystify the phenomenon of dreaming, human beings simply have not yet come close to answering the question, why do we dream? For now, we will have to be content with simply enjoying the show our brain puts on for us each night. Number 7. How is time represented in our brain? 100-yard dashes begin with a gunshot rather than a strobe light because your brain can react more quickly to a bang than to a flash. When it comes to awareness, the brain goes through a good deal of trouble to synchronize incoming signals that are processed at very different speeds. For example, snap your fingers in front of you. Although your auditory system processes information about the snap about 30 milliseconds faster than your visual system, the sight of your fingers and the sound of the snap seem simultaneous. Your brain is employing fancy editing tricks to make simultaneous events in the world feel simultaneous to you, even when the different senses processing the information would individually swear otherwise. Number 6. How Ministry of Memory works. How does the brain actually create a memory? Can we call up an absolutely pure memory like we do on the computer? Or is the act of remembering always to some degree recreating a new memory? A memory is not a thing, it is a representation across many synapses that can be reactivated by a stimulus. The process of storing and retrieving memories is beautiful and complex and involves billions of neurons and trillions of synapses operating in a synchronized dance. Many aspects are still shrouded in mystery and will be for years to come. Although we know memories are kept in the brain, no expert can say with certainty where exactly. There is an assumption that memories are reflections of combinations and triggers in the brain cells, but there is no explanation for where the triggers come from. Number 5. Why childhood amnesia exists. From the most dramatic moment in life, the day of your birth, to first steps, first words, first food, right up to nursery school, most of us can't remember anything of our first few years. Even after our precious first memory, the recollections tend to be few and far between until well into our childhood. Part of the puzzle comes from the fact that babies are, in other ways, sponges for new information, forming 700 new neural connections every second and wielding language learning skills to make the most accomplished polyglot green with envy. The latest research suggests they begin training their minds before they've even left the womb. This gaping hole in the record of our lives has been frustrating parents and baffling psychologists, neuroscientists and linguists for decades. Number 4. What is consciousness? Explaining how something as complex as consciousness can emerge from a gray, jelly-like lump of tissue in the head is arguably the greatest scientific challenge of our time. Consciousness seems mysterious. While life in general can be explained by physics, chemistry and biology, it seems that whenever one tries to explain the relationship between the brain and the subjective events that are experienced as feelings, something appears to be left out of the explanation. Some theorists suggest that the brain has a section designed for keeping and organizing everything. No matter how much scientists study the brain, the mind is fundamentally incapable of comprehending itself. Human brains suffer from a cognitive gap in understanding their own consciousness. Number 3. The mystery of personality. What can be more beautiful than to see a genuine expression of personality? When someone expresses in all sincerity, the personality is breathtakingly revealed. No masterpiece in an art gallery can compare with it. The body may be mediocre, the mind average, the soul undeveloped, and the spirit may have little chance to function in a mental environment devoid of faith. But personality shines when genuinely expressed. But no scientist has been able to decipher the mystery of personality through cerebral analyses or genetic coding, which implies a strong advantage for the group of experts that say personality depends on environment. However, doubts remain, as two people who live in identical circumstances can develop different personalities. Number 2. The existence of dominant hand. By the age of 2 or 3, most of us have started to prefer using one hand, and it is typically the right. Only about 10% of us end up as lefties. But why do we develop into righties and lefties? That question has more than a few scientists scratching their heads with their dominant hand, of course. We're so used to having a dominant hand and identifying people as righties or lefties that we probably take it for granted. But when you really think about it, the fact that we have one hand with significantly better functionality than the other seems a bit odd. Given everything we know about evolution and survival of the fittest, why haven't we evolved to have two totally adept hands? It's one of the biggest human body mysteries out there. Of course, there are some people who can use both hands with equal skill. Number 1. Why do we have fingerprints? We all know that our fingerprints are so unique that no two people have the same ones, not even identical twins. But why do humans have these swirly patterns on their fingers in the first place? For many years, scientists thought they were there to help human fingers grip things, but it turns out fingerprints actually allow less of our skin to come into contact with objects than perfectly smooth fingertips would. So they have nothing to do with gripping. While there are a few theories about the evolutionary purposes of these unique patterns, including that they protect our fingers or provide touch sensitivity, scientists haven't been able to figure out a definitive explanation. Understanding exactly how fingerprints work could help in the design of prosthetic and robotic hands that grasp and feel every bit as well as natural hands. If you enjoyed our video, like, share and subscribe. If you know more facts about human body that Google can't explain, comment below your thoughts.